Oh, so you're setting up invoices and quotes on your Wix website, but you don't even know how. Well, I'm gonna show you the settings real quick, how to set up your invoices and quotes in Wix right now. Let's go. Boom, so we're gonna continue on to the settings here for the invoice and quotes. Invoice and quotes. So right here you can see invoice and quotes. Under the settings on your left side, you'll see settings, invoice and quotes. That's where we're at. Boom. So the general is you want to put your company name, right? And this is essentially going to be it's going to help you build out your invoice and quotes. So your company name is going to be on your invoice and your quotes. So you're just going to put that onto your invoice and put that here. My company, my dream company. Right? You can set your currency, if it's US dollars, yen, whatever the case may be, dinar, whatever it is, set it up. Net 30. What net 30 means is the payment schedule. So if it's a net 30, that means it's 30 days to pay. Net 60, 60 days to pay. Net 15, 15 days to pay. Due on receipt is due on receipt. So again, if you are sending out an invoice, that lets if you have a net 30, that lets your recipient know that in 30 days, this is considered late or, past due. So with that being said, net 30 is essentially what you want to, that's essentially something you want to know off rip out the gate for anything. So again, especially getting into business, you want to know the difference between net 30, net 15, net 60, and even net 90, but it didn't go up to that high. Boom. So once you do that, you want to go ahead and add your taxes. We're just going to add, you can, depending on where you are located in the world, make it whatever suits your situation. Now with that being said, do a little Google research, figure out where, what works for your business. I'm gonna put 37%. Just, I know that's high. It's higher, but I'm gonna put 37%, right? Because I'm gonna just say for the sake of taking out all business taxes, all if you want to call it all. I'm tempted to just call it solopreneur tax, but it's not. That's not what it's called. I don't know why I can't think of it right now. But if you do have your business set up and you are a self-run business, so you're doing most of the work yourself, pretty much this is the little more than the tax rate that you're going to ended up being taxed with all your income anyway. So I just, if you want to put it in there, I'll put it in there, right? I'll just put it in there for the sake of putting it in there for now. And I know I'm going to think of the name and what it's called in a second. But right now you see when we click from general to invoices, this is a sample template of how our website or how our invoice will be built out. And remember when I was saying before, well, never mind. Well, what I was saying before is that if you had entered your logo and your business information a few videos back, then it will probably already be here. But because we haven't entered one, it'll ask us to enter a logo. You can insert your logo by just simply clicking it, finding the logo. Again, it essentially went right back to business info, right? It went right back to business info where we were when we should where we were in a few videos ago, where essentially where we would have inserted our logo. So header details, invoice. You can set up your numbering system for how you want to do your invoice. Definitely put your logo there. It just looks very, very professional, especially when you're sending it out. You can do your issue date, due date. You can insert new fields, like if you have a post office box number, tracking number, reference number, any of these. I don't use any of these. It's not necessary, but again, depending on the type of business you have, you might use these, right? Business info. Usually it's pulled from the business info part of the site. That's why, again, kind of like I was saying, back end stuff. A lot of that stuff will be populated automatically once you set up the settings in your whole website. right? You can have the additional tax column. Like you can put that in the on the line items of your, and this is just building out an invoice. You can put that on the line as a line item. I don't necessarily do that. I just kind of keep the price, the quantity, and then in the end I would include the taxes, right? Boom. This includes payments and show transaction details. This includes payments, payment date, payment method, payment amount paid, right? And I would include this. Like if they made a payment, this would if you want to say close it out, like, all right, this payment was made. So again, when it comes to bookkeeping, you can kind of keep a lot more track instead of having invoices that are out there in the wild and you don't know, okay, was this paid or was this not paid? This will say exactly when it was paid, how it was paid, what date it was paid on, or I said when, what date it was paid on, how much they paid, right? And in the footer notes, you can add notes like, you know, thank you, here's the terms, thank you for your payments, payment is due within this many days, thanks for your order, whatever the case may be. Here are some examples, that's where I'm getting that from. But like, thanks for your order, payment is due within, you know, net 30, net whatever, payment is due within this many days. Lets them know like, okay, this is the agreement, here's the invoice, blah, blah, blah. So just like that, that's how you set up your invoice. And I'm gonna just save it for now. Now a quote is totally different. The difference between an invoice and a quote. An invoice is something that you give to somebody who's already purchased or already received the services, or something you expect. This is like, if you want to call it the quote unquote final price. That's when you want to send your invoice. But if you are in the discussions of trying to figure out what the actual end product or end thing is going to be, then you want to send a quote. And a quote is essentially just like it sounds. It's a quote. Like, hey, I need you to build me a website. Well, okay, tell me more information. Well, I know I needed to be a website about this. Well, here's a quote on a website. You only could give a quote because at the current time, you don't know how many pages that website might need. You don't know how much work it might take to get to the end goal. You just know somebody requested a website. So again, that's an example. But with that being said, like, you can give a quote on how much it might be. So it starts here. So I'll do it at the starting price. But if you add on more things and more things and more things, then that price can go up. But I quoted you. But if you're like, hey, we've already hashed out, this is exactly what I'm going to fulfill. This is exactly what it is. This is what's on the scope of work agreement. Then now I have a clearer picture where now you can send out an invoice to actually for that work to get done. And the invoice is what would expect it to be paid for the services that you've agreed upon, right? So one of the things that I like to do is convert quotes to invoices once they're accepted. So once you send off a quote and it's like, hey, this is the quote, this is what I'm thinking. If they say I'm rocking with it, I'm like that. Again, and this ties back into making sure with the quote you might send the whole breakdown, like a kind of a scope of work. Like, this is what's included in that. Then once they're like, I accept that, then it'll turn into invoice where it's like, okay, you have this amount of time to pay to get started, right? And in your invoice, you can set it up like, 50% deposit, 100% deposit. I like take 100% deposit. Like, hey, just give it. If they're just pay up front, I fulfill the services, and you don't have to worry about anything else on the back end. Now, that being said, this is we're not going to get into it. I was going to go into some business stuff, but we're not going to get into that. We get into that in the Creator Academy, but for this video, we're just going to stay on the surface level of the settings of WIX, right? So, default notes sections, you can put thanks for your order. Same thing as before, like thanks for your order, terms and conditions, or you might have your terms like, hey, this is simply a quote. This is not the final price based on increased scope, project scope, or whatever the case may be. This is not the final product. This is not the final pricing, or this quote is only good for 10 days, 20 days, whatever the case may be, however you want to set it up. But essentially you can put that verbiage right here in the terms, right? And you see it automatically on the subject line of this email to the customer, new price quote from my dream website, right? Again, this is why I can't emphasize this enough. This is why doing the settings before you even start to do the website is super important. Automatically, it's going to send out this email to the customer, and it already has your business info, your business name in there, with best regards from this business name and things like that. You see what I'm talking about? The back end, setting up a lot of the back end things for your website, right? So that's quotes. And then you can set up the automation side of things. We're not going to go too far into this, but at this time, we're not going to go too far into this. But once somebody receives a quote, you can set up automations on your Wix website to essentially remind them, like, hey, you received a quote. You know, you received a quote, and the quote is about to expire in 5 days. Make sure you tap in and say accept this quote, or whatever the case may be, or remind the customer a week before. These are examples, but remind the customer a week before the invoices due. Like, hey, you had 30 days. It's a net 30. You have 5 more days. 5 more days to make this invoice payment before it's considered past due. Make sure you remember to make this invoice payment. Again, this automatically sends out the email, so you don't have to worry as much about calling somebody or emailing somebody manually, because your system is already doing it for you. It's already following up and making sure, hey, don't forget about this invoice that you got, so on and so forth. So again, you want to set up a lot of these automations. We'll talk about that in a later chapter, but set up a lot of these automations to help you do these things more efficiently, more effectively on your Wix website. And all starts with your settings, and that's why we're covering this here right now, here today. So with that being said, boom, there it is. So now you got to see exactly how you do the invoice and quotes for your actual Wix website, the settings for your invoice and quotes for your Wix website. Very, very powerful, very, very important, and that's why we're talking about these settings things. I know it's not the sexiest thing to talk about. I know it's not the sexiest thing to talk about, but on the back end, it's going to save you so much time. You're going to be able to set up processes, procedures, automations, things like that. So when you are in the fun part of your business, quote unquote fun part of your business, or the marketing part of your business, and the floodgates have opened, these automation systems, you will be so thankful that you have them set up. So with that being said, hopefully you found this value in this video. Hopefully I will see you in, I ain't gonna say hopefully, I will see you in the next video, where we continue to go over the settings for your Wix website and why it's super important, because again, super important stuff. We're setting the foundation. We're essentially putting down all of the concrete foundation on it for your house. So with that being said, this is why this is the first step in building your Wix website. So that being said, I will see you all in the next lesson. Make sure you like this video so more people just like you will get access to this video. And I'll see you all in the next lesson, y'all. Subscribe, because you gotta be notified when the next video come, right? Subscribe wherever it might be. Subscribe. So with that being said, hey, do that one thing. Take care, lady, y'all. Peace.